Hello, this is Jack Yoest, your business professor, and I want to welcome you to this next segment on management theory and practice, Management 323. We're in Chapter 4 today, Ethics and Corporate Responsibility. And let me start with a short story of an ethical challenge that I faced in one of the companies that I had an interest in. In the late 90s, I worked with an outsourcing company where we had ran a series of call centers in foreign countries, distant countries, with a client base. Our customers would be here in USA. We routed all the local calls from USA through a 212 area code through the Empire State Building from our offices. And what I noticed when I started working with my company, that the call centers offshore would have the local time and the local weather around the Empire State Building. I asked my partners about this, and they said that what we were doing is allowing the USA-based customer to believe that the technician that was handling the call was based in USA and not a distant country. And they assured me that in their distant countries, foreign countries, that this was normal and customary and indeed expected that this kind of misleading was common and ordinary. I reminded my partners that in fact the client base was based in USA, and we would have a different ethical standard. This may or may not have been a legal challenge, and certainly not a criminal challenge, but it was one of differing ethics. And I suggested that to our USA-based customers, that this would look to be misleading, at worst duplicitous, and at the very least it would be inauthentic. So I suggested that we could still use the 212 routing call as a prefix for calls, but we didn't have to tell people or mislead our clients that they were USA based when in fact they were offshore based. And partners seemed to agree, and we continued on with business, attempting to be open and honest for our USA-based customers, even if offshore it didn't matter to them. This was just a minor ethical challenge, but this is the kind of thing that you will see in your business practice, and as you get started, if you have not seen it already. And in many cases, the challenges can be even larger, but they always start small. Today, which brings us to our lesson, we will learn, the first thing is we'll describe how different ethical perspectives guide decision making. We'll identify the ethics-related issues and laws facing managers. We'll explain how managers influence their ethics environment. We'll outline the process for making ethical decisions, summarize the important issues surrounding corporate responsibility, and discuss the growing importance of managing the natural environment. Ethics, defined, is the moral principles and the standards that guide the behavior of an individual or group. We're looking at a graph now, an Exhibit 4.1, of telling the truth and lying, possible outcomes. And one of the things that I want to remind the alert student and the management manager in training is that there is no difference between a life lie and a business lie. That a lie is a lie. It's a personal issue that most of us think that we're good decision makers, that we're ethical and we're unbiased. But most people may have unconscious biases that favor themselves and their own group. Managers often hire people that are like them. We hire managers of symmetry and chemistry, the people that are like us and that we like them. We think that we're immune. We managers think we're immune to conflicts of interest. We take more credit than we deserve. We blame others when they deserve some blame ourselves. It's ethical, or is it ethical, to shop online during company time, to use office equipment for personal use, to read personal emails at work? Ethical issues of situation, problem, or opportunity in which an individual must choose among several actions that must be evaluated as morally right or wrong. Business ethics, the moral principles and standards that guide behavior in the world of business, and I would submit that this would be in the world of life, that we are in the world, whether it's at business or at leisure, if it's on the clock or off the clock. Ethical systems. So the moral philosophy is the principles, rules, and values people use in deciding what's right or wrong. And universalism is the ethical system that stating that all people should uphold certain values that society needs to function. These principles, called principles, established by international executives based in Switzerland, in collaboration with business leaders from Japan, Europe, and the United States. This is where Yoest living together and working together for the common good, allowing cooperation and mutual cooperation and mutual prosperity to coexist with healthy and fair competition, while at the same time balancing that with human dignity, where the concerns and the value of each person as an end, not as a means to the fulfillment of others' purposes. Part of ethical systems, egoism, an ethical principle that holds that the individual self-interest is the actual motive of all conscious action. Utilitarianism is an ethical system stating that the greatest good for the greatest number should be the overriding concern of decision makers. Relativism, and it's part of ethical systems, relativism is the philosophy that bases ethical behavior on the opinions and behaviors of relevant other people. Virtue ethics is the perspective that what is moral comes from a mature person with a good moral character, with a good moral character would deem right. Ethical systems continues with Kohlberg's model of cognitive moral development. It's a classification of people based on their level of moral judgment. And Kohlberg has stages of moral development. In our ethics environment, we have external controls, such as the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which established strict accounting and reporting rules to make senior managers more accountable and to improve and maintain investor confidence. The ethical climate that influences employees. In an organization, the processes by which decisions are evaluated and made on the basis of right and wrong. Now, there's danger signs and signals for us and red flags for each of us. First, number one, an excessive emphasis on short-term revenues over long-term considerations. A red flag, a dangerous signal sign would be the failure to establish or to see a written code of conduct. Number three, a desire for simple, quote, quick fix solutions to ethical problems. And four, an unwillingness to take an ethical stand that may impose financial costs. 5, consideration of ethics solely as a legal issue or public relations issue. 6, lack of clear procedures for handling ethical problems. And 7, responsiveness to the demands of shareholders at the expense of other constituencies. The ethical leader, one is one who has both a moral person and a moral manager, influencing others to behave ethically. Ethics programs, most organizations will have a compliance-based ethics programs this is a company mechanism typically designed by corporate counsel, corporate lawyers, to prevent, detect, and punish legal violations. Integrity-based ethical programs, these are company mechanisms designed to instill in people a personal responsibility for ethical behavior and internal motivation. There is a process for ethical decision making. Making ethical decisions takes moral awareness, realizing the issue has ethical implications, moral judgment, knowing what actors and what actions are morally defensible. Moral character is the strength and persistence to act in accordance with your ethics despite the challenges. The business costs of ethical failure. Courage. Behaving ethically requires not just moral awareness and moral judgment, but also moral character, including the courage to take actions consistent with your ethical decisions. Corporate responsibility. Corporate responsibility, or otherwise known as CSR, is the obligation towards society assumed by business. Now, this is not just a political issue. No matter what your politics are, companies should embrace corporate social responsibility because, as Jack Welch says, that the customer demands this. So we are, of course, going to behave ethically, but we have corporate social responsibility because the customer, our clients, demand it. As well they should. Economic responsibilities of CSR is to promote goods and services that society wants at a price that perpetuates the business and satisfies the obligation to investors. Legal responsibilities, of course, are to obey local, state, and federal and relevant international laws. Corporate social responsibility includes the ethical responsibilities of meeting other social expectations not written as law. And we have the influence under corporate social responsibility, philanthropic responsibilities. These are additional behaviors and activities that society finds desirable and that the values of the business supports. Pyramid of global corporate social responsibility and performance. CSR, transcendent education. This is an education with 5 higher goals that balance self-interest with responsibility to others. This education involves empathy, generality, mutuality, civil aspiration, intolerance of ineffective humanity. Contrasting views. First, holds that managers act as agents for shareholders and as such are obligated to maximize the present value of the firm. And second, managers should be motivated by principled moral reasoning. You can do good and do well. Profit maximization and corporate social responsibility used to be regarded as leading to opposing policies, but the two views can converge. Recent attention has also been centered on the possible competitive advantage of socially responsible actions. Eccentric management, or ecocentric management, as the goal is the creation of sustainable economic development and improvement of quality of life worldwide for all organizational stakeholders. Sustainable growth under ecocentric management, economic growth and development that meets present needs without harming the needs of future generations. Life cycle analysis, LCA, is a process analyzing all inputs and outputs through the entire cradle-to-grave, quote, life of a product to determine total environmental impact. And that is our closing video for today. We invite you to stay for the next chapter in this series of Management 323, Management Theory and Practice. Thank you.